Behind the scenes of Bridgerton's intimate moments, what the cast revealed. Bridgerton has set new standards for on-screen intimacy, using steamy scenes to deepen character development rather than just for spectacle. The cast and crew have been candid about the challenges and artistry involved in filming these moments. Nicola Coughlan embraced nudity as a powerful statement against body shaming, while Phoebe Dynevor detailed the precise choreography required for love scenes. Luke Newton and Coughlan's chemistry led to an unexpected onset mishap, and Regine Page humorously recalled how coffee breath played a role in his scenes. The importance of an intimacy coordinator was emphasized, ensuring comfort and realism, while show creator Chris Van Dusen addressed the series' most controversial moment. From Jonathan Bailey's amusing use of a netball for safety to Dynevor's admission of how exhausting these scenes can be, the insights offer a fresh appreciation for the work behind Bridgerton's most passionate moments. The Bridgerton cast reveals what it's like filming intimate scenes. There's no question Bridgerton is one of the biggest shows on Netflix, and it's likewise common knowledge how much the series broke new ground in the steaminess of its sex scenes. Indeed, the series has made a point of using sex not just as titillation but instead as a revelation of character. This is particularly crucial, since the series is based on a series of romance novels and the genre as a whole is very invested in its characters' desires and how this impacts them as individuals. The cast and crew of the series have been quite open about the process behind the creation of the series' steamiest scenes, and their commentary adds a new layer of appreciation for the work which goes into the creation of a series like this one. 1. Nicola Coughlan wanted more nudity as a statement against body shamers. Nicola Coughlan's Penelope Featherington has been a key part of Bridgerton's appeal from the beginning. Sweet and unassuming, she leads a double life as both the youngest daughter in her family and also the author of a scandal sheet under the pseudonym Lady Whistledown. In the third season, she finally gets her time in the sun, including having her own nude scenes. Though she was initially nervous about such scenes, particularly given how inclined the public is to body shaming, the Irish actress finally decided she was not just okay with such scenes, she loved them. She remarked, "I specifically asked for certain lines and moments to be included. There's one scene where I'm very naked on camera, and that was my idea, my choice. It just felt like the biggest F***CKU to all the conversation surrounding my body. It was amazingly empowering. I felt beautiful in the moment, and I thought, when I'm 80, I want to look back on this and remember how F***king hot I looked." 2. Phoebe Dynevor explained that her first scene was one of the show's steamiest encounters. The romance between Daphne Bridgerton and Simon Bassett, Phoebe Dynevor and Regine Page, respectively, is the narrative center of the first season of Bridgerton. There's definitely a great deal of chemistry between the two, and once they finally get married, the sparks fly, and the series doesn't hold back in its depiction of sexuality. However, despite how natural the sex scenes look, and despite how steamy the first sex scene between Simon and Daphne is, Dynevor pointed out how much work and choreography goes into putting such a steamy scene on screen. "My first ever scene was in episode 6, where Simon is going down on Daphne. And it was so great, because it felt safe and fun. You choreograph it like a stunt, or a dance. It's crazy to me that hasn't been there in the past. I've done sex scenes before that I can't believe I did. It was only 5 or 6 years ago, but it would not be allowed now." 3. Luke Newton and Nicola Coughlan got carried away while filming one of their passionate scenes. If there's one thing Bridgerton is known for, it's the intensity and length of its sex scenes. This is obviously key to the series' appeal to romance lovers, but the filming of such scenes has led to some complications on the set. Perhaps most notably, Nicola Coughlan and Luke Newton, who portray Penelope Featherington and Colin Bridgerton, became so involved in their scene they accidentally broke a piece of furniture. When asked whether the incident was true, Coughlan immediately said, "Yeah, hell yeah we did." Rather than being embarrassed, they both had a good laugh about it, with Newton saying, "There were moments where we could explore the scene and try it different ways, and then that ended up in a piece of furniture getting broken. We just laughed." And then, I think Nicola spoke, like in her Irish accent, and I thought, it would have been so special. I mean, maybe it will be in the final cut, us breaking into laughter, 'cause I think that's quite Colin and Penn as well. So it would be nice. 4. Regine Page said he and his co-star had a horrendous breath while filming love scenes. Although Bridgerton really does lean into the steamier aspects of Julia Quinn's beloved romance novels, oftentimes the behind-the-scenes stories are less alluring than one might imagine. After all, there are real human bodies and performances behind these scenes, so it makes sense that things might not always be as they appear in the finished product. Regine Page, for example, noted how he and co-star Phoebe Dynevor both had horrendous coffee breath during their scenes together. He elaborated, "We made a pact early on. It's one of the things that you do, as an actor, you approach other actors and say, hey, the scene is after lunch. What are our rules? Are we no onions? Are we no garlic? Do we have to get the coffee in early?" And then we both were like, actually, I really like coffee, so I don't mind that on you. Thank God. So we had a coffee-safe space the whole way through that show. 5. Phoebe Dynevor said that the intimate scenes would have been awkward if they were directed by a man. Even though Bridgerton is probably best known for its steamy sex scenes between characters, there are also moments in which characters find pleasure in their own bodies on their own. This is certainly true of Daphne, who spends much of the first season on a journey of sexual awakening. While not having a screen partner to work with in such moments has some advantages, as Phoebe Dynevor pointed out, it also has its challenges, which is why the intimacy coordinator was so important and vital. But on my own, it's a different thing, she remarked. The stage directions are very specific, you have to perform having an orgasm. It's a difficult thing to rehearse, which means you don't. You just do it. I always get back to the fact that Lizzie was on set for that scene. If we didn't have an intimacy coordinator, it would be our director, who was a male, coming up to me and telling me what to do. That would have been awkward. I felt so safe in the knowledge that Lizzie was there, so that if something went wrong or the director wanted something different, he could speak to her first. I think it would have been a very difficult experience if Lizzie hadn't been on set protecting me and looking after me. No one wants to be told how to perform orgasm on set by a man. 6. Luke Newton wanted his characters' love scenes to be gentle. The centerpiece of the third season of Bridgerton is the relationship between Luke Newton's Colin Bridgerton and Nicola Coughlan's Penelope Featherington. Theirs is a relationship which has been a long time coming, since Penelope has clearly carried a flame for the young Bridgerton since the very beginning of the show. After a great deal of back and forth, they finally have an erotic encounter in Penelope's carriage, marking the official start of their relationship. Both actors have spoken about their desire to capture the emotional authenticity and realness of the two characters' bond, both emotional and physical. As Coughlan put it, I think what's really beautiful about this season is, the intimacy stuff feels very real. It feels very grounded in two people that are not trying to that they're awkward in front of one another, this and that, and all of a sudden they become like Lotharias in the bedroom and whatever, they get to be intimate together in a very real and beautiful way, and I think that's what makes it so affecting. In those intimate moments, they find moments to laugh and you see them figuring it out and doing it together, and I love it. For his part, Newton emphasized how he and his co-star decided how gentle they would be with each other when it's the start of something and where we can take it from there. 7. The show's creator explained the process behind the show's most controversial intimate scene. Few Bridgerton scenes are as controversial as the one in the first season when Daphne, during sex with Simon, forces him to finish inside of her, something he had steadfastly refused to do. It's a charged moment in the series, and it ignited a firestorm of controversy over the show and its depiction of consent and the lack thereof. Series creator Chris Van Dusen, however, had good reasons for why the show chose to depict the scene in this way. In the novel, Daphne sleeps with Simon while he is drunk. We are a show that allows our female characters to be complicated and to be far from perfect, he remarked in an interview. They often have to make complicated choices. In the writer's room, we discussed that scene at length. We felt that the female characters on this show, Daphne, especially, should be allowed to do just that. She should be flawed. She should be able to make questionable choices. We felt a responsibility to the story of the education of Daphne Bridgerton, and that scene is very much a part of her story. He went on to say, I think part of the scene's design was to raise conversation. The conversation that this scene has brought up around consent is an important one to be having. It's one that we encourage audiences to engage in. 8. The show's intimacy coordinator explained which scenes were the hardest to film. Given the long association of the romance genre with female readers and pleasures, it makes sense for those involved in the show to want to emphasize a female point of view in the series. This was certainly the case in the first season, which was very much focused on Daphne Bridgerton's sexual and emotional awakening during her courtship and marriage to Simon Bassett. Some scenes, however, were a bit difficult to film, according to Lizzie Talbot, who worked as intimacy coordinator on the series. As she explained in an interview, "Yeah, we're very clear about the fact that it's like doing a stunt. I know there were a lot of people being quite dismissive of this work at the beginning, like, oh, it's just simulating sex. How hard can that be? Any actor that's done it will tell you that working in this way is physically exhausting. And if you're working with any sensitive material, it can be quite emotionally exhausting." Some of the hardest scenes, and all credit to Phoebe here, are the solo scenes because she didn't have a partner to bounce off of. 9. Regé Page found it overwhelming to watch his own intimate scenes. The first season of Bridgerton certainly set a high bar for subsequent seasons in terms of its explicitness. Regé Page, who plays Simon Bassett, the love interest to Phoebe Dynevor's Daphne Bridgerton, wasn't quite ready for the fame this would bring him or the extent to which it would transform him into a global sex symbol. Moreover, as he noted, it was also a bit much for his family when they started watching the show. "No one was sufficiently prepared," he said in an interview. "I wasn't sufficiently prepared, and I was there." Laughs. "I think people were grateful for the intensity of the romantic aspects of Bridgerton. I'm not sure how grateful I was to watch it for myself. It was overwhelming. But I think people were looking to be overwhelmed. My family doesn't want to be overwhelmed by my backside, specifically, too often, but they'll take it on this occasion because everyone seems to be terribly happy." 10. Jonathan Bailey mentioned using an unexpected prop while filming intimate scenes. Jonathan Bailey immediately stole hearts when he appeared in the first season as Anthony Bridgerton, the eldest of his siblings and head of the family. In the second season, he began a tempestuous romance with Kate Sharma, played by Simone Ashley. The two actors shared some steamy scenes together, but the filming of said scenes could be a bit silly at times given the protections in place to ensure the actors' safety, including a half-inflated netball. As Bailey explained, "If there are two people doing a sex scene, the rule is they must have 3 barriers separating them, and there are certain acts where a half-inflated netball can allow for movement without having to connect physically. It's pretty silly really, and we have some hilarious moments, but it makes it less awkward." 11. Phoebe Dynevor admitted that the intimate scenes can be exhausting to shoot. Anyone who has seen Bridgerton, in particular the first season, can attest to the athleticism of many of its steamiest scenes. It can sometimes seem as if the actors must be athletes in order to perform as they do. In fact, this isn't so far from the truth. Phoebe Dynevor, who plays Daphne Bridgerton, has remarked in interviews about the extraordinary levels of preparation which go into these scenes, particularly once Simon and Daphne are married and spend a significant amount of time christening his estate with their lovemaking. Dynevor remarked, "All of the intimacy scenes are a massive stunt. They take at least half a day to shoot. Even longer for the scene at the end of episode 5, which is an argument that turns into sex. They're intense scenes. They're very choreographed and they take a while, a lot of angles, and it's kind of exhausting as well. You don't realize how exhausting they are. It's quite a challenge to shoot those, but we felt so safe.